Hello and welcome to the Aftershock. We are live here at PayPal Park. Got Robert Jonas, Alex Morgan, Jamin Moore, I'm Phil Leyva, and we are so excited to be joining you tonight. The Quakes with a 2-1 victory over the Vancouver Whitecaps. Guys, let's start off with our initial thoughts. Jamin, I'm going to kick it over to you first. Your thoughts after the match?
Well, it was two halves, right? And we talked to a lot of fans at halftime. We were all very frustrated with certain elements of the play in the first half. The second half, they figured it out. Much better, much sharper. Carlos Acapa with a huge goal. You can't overstate how big that goal was. But after a nice passing sequence, moving the ball across, it's just what this team needs. They just needed to get a win somehow, some way. Third wheel derby. I mean, it's a great time to try to get that win. And, that it kicks this team off, under the Luchi Gonzalez era.
Yeah, they certainly come out in the second half and get things done against a big rival. Alex, your thoughts?
Look, Jamin got it right. This was a tale of two halves. The first half, I was distraught watching this San Jose Earthquakes team play because they looked sloppy. They looked tired. They looked like they were sleepwalking all the way across the field. Every pass in behind, Vancouver had a man in behind. Every time Vancouver had an attacking transition, San Jose would get caught out. Carlos Grezzo looked particularly bad in the midfield. Second half, completely different. Second half, they were first to the second balls. They were quick in transition, and they were pinning Vancouver Whitecaps back. And it was two beautiful goals. I never thought this San Jose Earthquakes team could be so dominant in the air. This was a team that was sending in cross after cross and getting their head on every single one of them. Cade Cowell had a couple strong chances. Jeremy Abobasi got his head on the goal. This was a dangerous team in the air. And that answers a huge question, is how is this team going to start scoring goals? Because teams are going to start double teaming Christian Espinosa. They're going to start figuring out how to mark them. But being able to send the ball in the box and have anybody challenge in the air is another huge way that this team can score goals.
Yeah, when you have Jonathan Mensah, when you have Rodriguez playing as he did, dominant in the air, I mean, that adds a whole nother dimension to the team. And there was a lot of good service coming off of those corners as well. With the exception of one particularly bad corner, it was pretty good throughout the night. Robert, I'm interested in your take on this match.
Yeah, as a tall redhead, former infamous Quakes executive once said, set pieces. I was so impressed tonight with the way the Quakes were, running plays on those set pieces, free kicks, corner kicks, you name it. And so many close calls in the first half that we forget about. Cade Cowell, a couple of headers, just well worked overall in those dead ball situations is something that, is very encouraging. And I know these Quakes, need every, little angle they can get, a little help they can get. And if they can become better and better and more effective in those set piece opportunities, then we're going to see more nights like tonight.
Well, tonight we're going to try to bring you a show with all of us in the same room, and at the same time kind of try to pull off the press conference. Kudos to the Quakes PR team. We love those guys, and they are trying their best to help us out to make sure you get to hear the press conference tonight. So if anything doesn't work, it's pretty much on us. We've got 3 computers here. You might see them, you might not. We don't quite know how this is all going to work. We're doing this for the very first time. Alex and I have done this one time, twice maybe with the Black and Azul days. It's craziness on this end, but an exciting night, obviously for the Earthquakes.
Yeah, computers everywhere, cords everywhere. I mean, it's just like, wow, it's a full room. So one thing I really wanted to talk about with you guys is the way that the offensive output was particularly changed in the second half, but how we kind of saw something that we haven't seen a lot from this team in the past couple of years, especially when Matias Almeida was coaching them, and that is confidence on the ball and organization and knowing exactly what to do and how to create space. We saw at times, Cade Cowell was finding some of that space and creating it over on his side of the pitch. We saw Espinosa trying to get outside, and they were sending those balls across the pitch back and forth. And we saw a lot of Jamiro Montero having that lateral movement right in the front of the formation, trying to figure out new things as well. So I'm curious as to what you guys really, what you think of what people are calling Luchi ball and how this is going to be, moving forward this season.
Look, the first half, Luchi ball was launching it long for Christian Espinosa on the right wing. In the first half, that's all Luchi ball consisted of. It was launching those long diagonal balls. Whenever the Quakes got the ball in the defensive third, they'd pick their head up and look for him in behind. They'd get those long switches. And Espinosa was able to get on a few of them, but you weren't seeing the same kind of structured buildup that they had against the Atlanta United that made them look really good, that made them look like they'd be a really strong team in possession. The second half, they were able to get more of that going. They were able to connect the passes through Guerrero, through Montero, through Jackson Ewell in the middle. In the first half, the midfield was probably the worst section of the field for the Quakes. Jamiro Montero, he was really sloppy on the ball. He's one of the most technically gifted guys on this team, but Jamiro Montero in that first half was sloppy. Carlos Guerrero was practically giving away every ball he had. I know a lot of people picked up on that. And even Jackson Ewell, he was solid, but he wasn't able to connect just because the passes weren't there. Second half, it's different. Second half, they were sharp, they were clean, they were moving the ball quickly, and you see that for their second goal. I mean, for their second goal, that is a goal that happens because of Luchi Gonzalez's positional play, because of the triangles they're creating in the middle, because Jackson Ewell can find Cade, can drop it back to Jebo, can find Espinosa, can drop it back to Acapo. Then he shoots and scores. That play, that goal happens because of Luchi Gonzalez's structure and positional play.
Well, we learned last week, when this midfield is on, this is a good team, and it makes everyone around them better because everyone else can really focus on the responsibilities. And that first half, Vancouver's very selectively pressed from what I could see, and they were making those opportunities count with the Quakes being sloppy in the midfield. So whatever the halftime talk was, which hopefully we'll get a chance to ask that question of Luchi, I expect that's where those adjustments were made. That midfield needed to be sat down, shown the whiteboard, shown the chalkboard, what they need to get done in the second half, and we saw it tonight.
Yeah, they face a deep block. When you play Vancouver, they often sit in a pretty deep block. I mean, on the road, probably even deeper than at home. And tonight, we saw that. We saw the game, start off with the Quakes trying to break down the deep block, struggling to be able to do so. And I think the first, 6, 7, 8 passes Jamiro Montero made that weren't back passes were intercepted because they're sitting back. They're looking for those opportunities. They know where the Quakes are going to try to be able to play the ball forward. They watched the film clearly from Atlanta United last week, and they were ready for those passes. And that's why I think there was so much work toward Christian Espinosa, is because that right side of the Vancouver defense was so stingy tonight, particularly in that first half, just really preventing any sort of real penetration from the wings. And of course, Cade Cowell, when he touches the ball, particularly back to goal, just like a lot of teams do, double team, turnover. And, so when Grezzo's having a rough first half, when Montero's having a rough first half, when Cade Cowell is going to turn over the ball, and when he touches it, now he had some good situations. Mm-hmm. He got his head on the ball twice. I got it. I got you, Alex. I got you. He had a couple good shots, but I'm talking about in their attempts to penetrate in behind from the left side. There was a bit of a struggle. The second half, there's quite a bit more.
Jamie, you're giving Cade Cowell short shrift here. This was Cade Cowell, one of his best performances as an Earthquake, I think. He was one of the strongest players in the first. He was one of the only players who was turned on in the first half. Everyone else was zoned out in the first half. Cade Cowell was there. He was making dynamic runs. He's getting the ball. He showed good work in tight spaces, and he was creating chances. He got his head on a couple. This was a good game for Cade Cowell, even though they were hitting him with the double team. Wasn't turning over the ball. Cowell has been ability. I think
3 at one time and almost created a goal out of it, created a corner, right? But when his back is to goal, he still struggles with that. We saw it last week with Atlanta United, like 3 or 4 turnovers back to goal last week, at least a couple in the first half tonight. But if you can get him facing forward, yes, the problem is with a deep block, if Jamiro Montero is not completing those passes, you're not going to get him going forward very much. And so that's why the first half, they looked so poor, particularly on that left side. That's what switched in the second half. Mm-hmm. That part of it got fixed. Whatever small adjustments Luchi made, that worked in the second half. I think he had a pretty good sense what he needed to do, the tweaks he needed to make in the second half. And kudos to, it's nice to have a coach who actually makes changes at halftime, makes adjustments at halftime. In fact, those who watch the Quakes Access videos we got a chance to look to see like the things that he was asking them to adjust at halftime against Atlanta United even.
And not only tactical adjustments, but early substitutions. You notice who is the guy who scored the winning goal? 63rd minute, first substitution, Carlos Acapo.
Yeah.
That's a big difference, is a coach that's willing to make those early substitutions and knows what the Quakes need in those second half situations.
Well, let's talk about that goal for a second, because that was actually to me, it was a bit surprising from my view. I was watching it back over there behind the Ultras, and I didn't expect Carlos Acapo to take that shot there. And I was actually a bit disappointed when I saw the ball come over onto that side of the field, because I was watching the build-up play. I was like, oh, this is fantastic. Somebody's got to take the shot. It comes over. I think, okay, maybe we're going to get a chip into the box. Somebody's going to try to get a head onto it. But no, he actually takes the shot there. He shows us a part of his toolbox that I didn't know that Acapo had. So looking at that, that substitution that Luchi made, it really did seem to pay off for the team.
Yeah, and let's not forget Jeremy Ebobisse with the equalizer and really kind of setting the stage for this comeback throughout the second half. He was one of the brighter spots for me in the first half. Alex, you mentioned Cade Cowell. He was doing all the Cade Cowell things, and not getting the goal, which kind of is a Cade Cowell thing. We want to see him start to make those finishes. But Jeremy was working his tail off in the first half with not a lot of kind of help around him, not a lot of success, and it was really nice to see him rise as high as he did and do so well on the set piece goal. By the way, another example of what this team is doing well on those. We have the free kick pretty far out. Montero decides to play short to Jackson, who tips it back to Montero for a much better cross, much higher percentage cross. And there's Jeremy near the back post to knock it home. Just so well drawn out and well executed.
And there was a lot to appreciate about Jeremy Ebobisse's play during this match. And if you watch the Apple TV interview that's on on the app, one thing that he talks about is he would prefer to play kind of like up on an island, to play as a true striker. But we did see during this match that he had to come back and make some of those plays and really be a team player and contribute in other ways than what his preferred method of play is. But it actually paid off quite a bit, because it showed that every player of the team could go in and add to what Luchi has the guys trying.
And I want to briefly touch back on Acapo for a second, because I wasn't convinced of Acapo going into this match. I didn't think he played particularly well against Atlanta United. He's still a guy who's struggling to find his form. He's not ready to go 90 minutes. That's why we're seeing him come on as a second half substitution, because he hadn't played a professional soccer game in months before this season began. He still doesn't.
And picked up a knock during preseason to slow his ability to play 90.
And picked up a knock. So we hadn't seen Carlos Acapo at full strength yet. And I wasn't convinced that he's a guy who could win that starting spot over Paul Marie. He looked much better in this second half than he did against Atlanta United. He's now a guy who I'm more confident once he gets to full fitness can take that starting spot, and then you have more options, because then you can have Paul Marie playing on the.
All right, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Luchi Gonzalez in the Coach Mass presser now.
2-1 victory over Vancouver. We're now joined by head coach Luchi Gonzalez. So let's begin with questions, starting with Jamin Moore.
Hi, Coach. Congratulations on the win.
Thank you.
Sorry, we're getting a bit of a feedback here. Are you hearing feedback?
A little bit, but I can hear you fine though.
Okay. So obviously your team made a great comeback tonight after losing 2-1 last week. You won 2-1 tonight. What adjustments did you make at halftime that helped make that happen?
Yeah, look, last week we learned multiple lessons. And I said it after the game last week, proud of the group and our performance. Didn't sustain, right, for the 90 plus minutes, but overall I thought we went there and pushed the game, and it just didn't go our way, unfortunately, at the end. But we're working well, and we're confident in how we're doing things, and it's about moving forward. So I thought the boys showed that overall today. The beginning, Vancouver had a compact block, made it difficult to play between lines. We got picked off, and they conceded we conceded an offensive transition by Vancouver. Not the way we wanted to start, but we stayed calm. I'm proud of the group for taking it one moment at a time, being present one moment at a time. We talked at half about the ability to where else can we break lines and find advantages if it's difficult through the middle because of the compactness, and that we needed to find other spaces to hurt them in terms of in behind or diagonals and push with flank play. So I thought our players adapted to that and pushed the game. We got a little more pressure on the ball to force them to play direct and get on the ball and possess and create, and we didn't stop believing. Credit to the guys not stop, to not give up, to be relentless in their attitudes, their beliefs, their energy, their intensity, and have to be really proud of them. And for us to come back down 1 and then win 2-1 shows character, and it'll be a good reference for us moving forward for the rest of the season.
Thank you, Luchi. Next up, Robert Jonas.
Congrats, Coach. It's obviously nice to get a win in your home opener. For my eye, there was a lot of success tonight on set pieces, not just the goals, but the near chances as well. Can you speak a little bit about what preparation went into that tonight, and how that basically made a big difference in tonight's game?
Yeah, set pieces are game changers, and we know that. And unfortunately, in Atlanta, it didn't bounce our way in terms of how we defended set pieces. So we know that the importance of set pieces. We think we have a team that can defend well and respond, like I said, from last week's game to this one, and then also be a threat offensively. Our staff works really hard, and they care a lot about the details and how we want to, like I said, attack and defend set pieces, and they did make a difference for us tonight.
Next up, Alex Morgan.
Hi, Luchi. Thank you for joining us tonight. Congratulations on the win. It felt like the team in the second balls in transition. Were you worried about sort of the mentality in that especially in the midfield? Why do you think it looked so sloppy?
Half your question was cut off. I just heard sloppy. Can you ask your question again?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. I was just asking why you think the team looked sloppy in the first half. If you're worried about the mentality in the first half, or what concerns you about the first half performance, because it felt like the team was, making misplaced passes and, second to the loose balls and slow in transition, especially in the midfield. And I'm wondering, if that was something you were concerned about and could be an issue going forward.
Yeah, look, I think there's some nerves, excitement, maybe overexcitement, and playing home. We had a great turnout with our fan base. We really felt them. Their energy was amazing and contagious, and I think it helped us turn the game around. But I alluded to the tactical adjustment we needed to make. Vancouver were very compact, didn't allow passes between lines. We got stripped with a few balls between lines, and I'll give credit to Vancouver. We want to break lines, and we want to be able to play through teams and around teams and over teams. But yeah, we got caught a few times, and that's something we've got to sharpen up. That's for sure. And we opened up in transition, and it cost us a goal. I felt we weren't good enough in second balls. We weren't winning enough second balls from their direct balls and from our own, and that was an adjustment we needed to improve in the second half. If we were going to get more pressure on the ball, winning more second balls, getting possession, and creating and generating more opportunities to score. So, that cycle is connected, and it's just we got to keep working. The boys found a way. They grinded through. Even though you say what you say about the first half, tactically we weren't where we wanted to be. We still created and generated very good opportunities to score. So that's good to know that we can be playing at our best or not. We can still be a dangerous team.
Next up, Marco College.
Hey, Luchi, congratulations on your first win in, as it sounds like, Quake head coach. When you look at Acampo, the way he's able to attack as a defender, it almost like he's a midfielder out there. Is that something he showed you throughout training camp? And is this what you expect out of him going forward for this season?
Yeah, Carlos has been through a long journey of rehabilitation and just getting healthy from his foot surgery last year. He was training with the team. Unfortunately, didn't get to debut with the club at the end of last season, but kept working in the off season, had a good preseason, had a little knock early preseason, which I think set him back, but he's worked hard to now build his fitness and build his confidence and integrate with the group. And so, he's he's a player that, yes, like you said, can get forward, can get crosses, has physical tools. He's a good athlete. And he has a lot of experience, and he has a great mentality and training. And you saw today in the game to push and to score the winner. So really proud of him and his process to get healthy and help the team. And he's going to be important moving forward for sure.
Thank you, Luchi. Let's take a couple more. So let's now next go to Michael Roberson.
All right, Coach. Once again, congratulations on this first win, especially at home. How about Jeremy Ebobisi? Was he what you expected right now? 2 goals in the first 2 games, big scorer last year. So is he coming through the way you thought he would when you took over the job?
Yeah, Jeremy is a good leader. Everything that I heard or observed or researched before getting here, it holds true in terms of his calm mentality. He's always observing. He's asking questions. He's trying to find solutions, and he keeps his emotions very stable so that he can find those solutions. And he's always there to support teammates and give suggestions. And he's just a great player and person to work with. And so I'm not surprised that he's showing this danger in front of goal, because he's got the talent, but he also has the mentality. So he's been open to the ideas and how we want to act and play. And I'm just really proud of him to help us turn the game around with that first goal. And he's going to continue to be a threat in this league and important to this team.
And one final question. This one will be in Spanish by Paula Maruri.
Muy buenas noches. Felicitaciones por su victoria. ¿Cómo ustedes van a transmitir, a llevar esta victoria, este triunfo para el siguiente juego, la motivación y sobre todo, qué se habló después en el segundo tiempo? ¿Qué cambios hubieron? Muchísimas gracias y buenas noches.
Sí, bueno. Hello. Ok. Sí, orgulloso de los muchachos por la mentalidad y creer, y enseñaron los valores de ser incansables y unidos y pelear hasta el final y empujar para la victoria. No empezamos como queríamos, nos agarraron en un momento de contragolpe, perdimos la pelota entre líneas. Es un equipo bien organizado defensivamente, muy compactos, y fue difícil jugar entre líneas. Y bueno, pues, sufrimos un poco con unas pelotas que nos robaron y atacaron rápido. Y bueno, hablamos de unos cambios para atacarlos más con profundidad, con diagonales y bueno, los chicos aplicaron eso y creyeron y enfocaron cada momento, cada minuto, y dio la victoria, ¿no? Orgulloso también de enseñar a los fanáticos esa energía y esa intensidad que para mí, como queremos actuar, como queremos hacer las cosas tan importantes como el resultado. Pero vamos a aprender más la próxima semana ahora.
All right, thank you, Luchi, and thank you for your questions. So we'll be bringing
Thank you. Good night. Thank you.
All right. Well, we've got quite a bit to talk about, and considering some of those responses that he had. Luchi talking about the positives in the first half. Well, I think a lot of us were quick to point out some of the mistakes that the players were making, some of the negatives that we were noticing about the team. He was very quick to jump on the positives that they had. Jamin, I know that's something that you noticed as well. I'm interested to hear what your thoughts are in regards to that.
Yeah, I mean, the one of the things that you have to say is, as sloppy as it was in the central midfield, and keep in mind some of the best players for this Vancouver side are in the central midfield, and they're good at disrupting. They have one of the best DP6s in the league in Cubas. So, it can look sloppy at times, and that's because, again, as Luchi pointed out, there's 2 teams playing. They came with their game plan. They executed their game plan well, particularly, in the first half, less so in the second half. And so he was very proud of the fact that, yeah, you might say that we played sloppy, but guess what? We were still generating chances. We were still on the front foot. Now, defensively, of course, it didn't look that great, right? They looked very skittish in the back. Sometimes that single pass would bypass Carlos Carlos Guerrero, and he was turning over the ball in the back, and then he would get wrong-sided. We were talking about that frequently in the first half. Daniel, wasn't looking sharp at times in the first half as well. Made a couple great saves in the second half, though, to redeem himself a little bit. But, it did look a little bit nervy back there. And he's like, hey, and look how many chances we generated. I think from an expected goal side, the Quakes were, still ahead at halftime. And so from his perspective, like, hey, look, if we play sloppy, but we still can generate chances, we still have opportunities to get back in the game and to win.
Jamin, you got to be careful bringing up the Danielle talk. I know there was a lot of chatter in the comments about Danielle's performance. Again, he allows another goal.
Pull up some comments. I'm good with it.
Another goal.
Go ahead. Bring up
that leaves me wondering, maybe he could have done better. Should he still be starting over JT Marcinkowski? Is that a conversation already to have?
Wow, Alex. Already in the controversial comments.
He gave up one goal tonight, 2 world-class goals last week. The goal tonight, he stepped out and they just put a ball by him. I don't think necessarily a different goalkeeper changes.
Jamin, well, I think the fans disagree with you. Daniel was pretty
disagree
bad.
with me all they want to.
Daniel looks skittish to me.
Hang on.
The new keeper looks
throwing
shaky.
the ball and hitting the guy in the head.
Daniel not used to call
it.
I'm talking about the shot situations.
Look,
but yes, throwing the ball, hitting the guy in the head, and the ball almost going in the goal, that would have been terrible.
I was pretty clear after the loss against Atlanta United. I think Daniel could have done better on both of those goals. I think he should have easily stopped the first
disagree
goal.
with you, by the way.
And I think that he could have done better for the second goal as well. This is another goal that I feel like he should have been able to get a foot on. I think, first of all, he should be coming out and claiming it way earlier. And second of all, he should be spreading his legs and making himself big. I don't know what his strategy for saving that ball was. And he was brought in to be a shot stopper, right?
Fair.
I think that JT Marcinkowski, you can say his distribution, his aerial ability, his leadership is probably stronger. So the question is, if he's not making the saves you need him to be making, why is he starting over JT Marcinkowski?
All right, thank you, everyone. We're now joined by defender Jonathan Mensah. So let's go straight to questions, starting with one from Marco U College.
Hey, Jonathan, congratulations on the win tonight to get the first one here at home. What do you think was the difference in that second half in that, you guys kind of didn't have much possession in that first half despite getting some chances, but then it seemed like the second half you were able to kind of shut them down, and then you guys got the goal from Abobasi, which just turned the momentum around and allowed you guys to come back and win. But what do you think was the difference to start that second half for you guys?
I believe the sense of urgency changed. Of course, we could start better, but being a goal down, I think you need to do anything you can to come back and win a game. So we sensed it right away. We needed to change gears, and we did.
Thank you. Next up, Robert Jonas.
Thank you. Against Atlanta, you were victimized by a couple of late goals, a couple of set pieces. But tonight, the set pieces opportunities looked so much better on both sides of the ball. What was the focus in training? What was the focus in the talk out of this game that led to that turnaround, led to that success tonight?
I believe every day we go to practice, we just want to improve. We just want to get better, and of course, individually and collectively, and that's what we've been doing. So it was a tough loss on the road, first game of the season, so we needed to get a first one at home. We've been working really hard, and of course, it's showing on the field. So we're just going to continue to work and improve.
Next up, Jamin Moore.
Hi, Jonah. Thanks for joining us. Congratulations on the victory. How comfortable is the combination right now of you and Rodriguez? We saw, particularly last week, Rodriguez would go forward, and you felt comfortable being able to hold down the back. Tonight, sometimes, the situation could get a little bit reversed at times. So how's that combination starting to come together? How good is your communication, back there at this point among yourselves and then the rest of the back line and Carlos Guerrero as well? Thank you.
it comes down to having the understanding, not just myself and Rodrigo, but the whole back line and Carlos in front of us. Making sure that we communicate early, making sure that we are aware of where the strikers are, and helping each other, because we cannot defend 1v1 throughout the game, but we need to do collective defending, and we've done a great job of minimizing the chances the other team creates. 2 games into the season, so we're just going to continue to work and even understand each other better. So
Thank you, Jonathan. Let's take a couple more. Now let's go to Michael Roberson.
Okay, so you mentioned that disappointing moment in Atlanta, but how good did it feel to come back here, sellout crowd, a little chilly, but still the crowd was behind you guys and you get the win? Did it make up for all the nonsense that happened, I guess, in Atlanta?
We took all the lessons from the Atlanta game, and coming back home, playing in front of our fans. We just wanted to win, and that's what we did tonight. Like I said earlier, we're gonna keep working. This team is an ambitious team, young group of guys that is eager and hungry to succeed. So we're gonna continue to work and we always give everything we got on the field.
And we'll take one more question from Alex Morgan.
Hi, Jonah. Thank you for joining us tonight, and congratulations on the win. I want to ask what you thought about the first goal, Vancouver's goal. And in the first half, it felt like they were doing a good job winning the ball in midfield and then playing quickly in behind. What do you think was going on there, and how did you guys fix it in the second half?
I believe we played into their hands first half. We didn't recognize where the spaces were earlier on, so we just played into their trap, and we made few adjustments, and it was good after that. I remember the ball being played on my right side, and I think I slipped. But this is something we can clean up, and of course, you need to rectify it right away, keep working, and improve upon the next game. So it was good response from the group, and we're going to keep this momentum going.
All right, this concludes tonight's press conference. Thank you, Jonathan, and thank you everyone for your questions tonight.
Thank you, guys.
So some great responses from Jonathan Mensah. This is a guy who has played for an MLS Cup winning team. He has a lot of experience. He brings a lot of that into the team. And I'm actually a little bit surprised that it was Mensah tonight, considering some of the performances from, around the pitch. He wasn't necessarily the best player on the pitch tonight, but he had some really good moments. Before we go back into our discussion about the match and analyzing it, I want to direct folks over to quakesepicenter.com. If you go over to quakesepicenter.com, you can find our articles which analyze the club. We have a salary spreadsheet where you can look at the club's current budget and how we are looking at how the money is being spent, what is available, who the designated players are, all of those sorts of things. And that's all thrown together by Colin Etnar. But we have a lot of great articles from these guys here, from Colin, from Asher Cohn, from Ane Patel. There's all kinds of great stuff. Yes, there's a brand new article up there from Robert Jonas. And so I just wanted to direct folks there. And make sure you follow us on social media at Twitter and on Instagram at Quakes Epicenter. There is also the Patreon. If you look at the bottom of the screen here, you can see where it says check out our Patreon. If you go to that web address, you can find our Patreon. The money that we receive from the Patreon goes towards things like this, where we can all be together. So make sure to comment on the YouTube if you're with us live right now. We'd like to hear what you think about our current setup of having all of us here in the studio together, or whether you would like to see something else with how the money is being spent through the Patreon. So I'd like to direct it back over to Robert. You had an opportunity to ask Jonathan Mensah a question during the press conference, and I'm curious as to what your thoughts are in regards to that.
Yeah, and I want to connect it to the conversation Jonah had in the middle of the week at Media Day. He talked to a gaggle of us reporters, and remember, he hasn't been here very long, and so it would be perfectly understandable for him to still be learning that communication and how each member of the back line is organized and how he can fit into that. But he had talked to Luchi about what this role was going to be. He was going to be stepping right into the starting 11, and knowing that Luchi was going to be playing a little bit similar to Greg Berhalter when he was coaching at Columbus and bringing some of that same defensive structure, he felt confident that he was going to be able to step in and make that adjustment right away. Hearing tonight that that's how training is. It's not about adjusting as much as about improving. And over a couple of weeks, if this is the improvement we're already seeing out of Jonas Mensah in the starting lineup, then that really bodes well for the center back pairing. He and Rodriguez are going to be counted on for pretty much the whole season. If those two guys stay healthy, they're your starters, probably games 1 through 34.
Look, for the last few years, this has been a team where it's always been shaky at the back. There's nobody who's anchoring that back line who you can trust to be cool, calm, and composed in every situation. Jonathan Mensah is that player for this back line now, and he's a leader on the field. He only joined this team halfway through preseason, right? He's only been with this team for 3 weeks, and you can already tell that he's leading the back line.
45 minutes with this team in preseason.
He played 45 minutes with the team in preseason. He's just a world-class player that this team has that is going to be the anchor for their defensive season.
He was a captain in Columbus. I mean, he commands respect in the locker room. And he was joking with us that, he still going around, he's knocking on doors, he's chatting with teammates. He hopes they don't say no or refuse to let him in. He's going to be a big presence in this team behind the scenes. And I think we're already seeing it in just the command that he has, not just on the field, but the way he's stepping up for this team and even being the spokesman tonight.
And isn't it wonderful to have that much presence on so many different parts of the field as well? Because it's not just Jonathan Mensah in the center back position. I know that many of you have seen Jeremy Abobasi and what he brings to this team, the poise that he has. He's another one of those players. If you look at the midfield, we have Carlos Grueso. I mean, there's players all over the pitch. I remember just last season we were asking, where is the leadership going to come from in this team? And suddenly we have a plethora of that. So that's really exciting. Jamin, you asked about the center back pairing with Rodriguez and Mensah, and I'm curious as to what you think his response, how you feel about the way he responded to that question as well.
Yeah, it's as Robert said, it's new to him. He's still figuring it out. It's not going to be perfect. You have to give them the ability, the time to kind of grow into the season. But I think what we are seeing is that where we might have said that some of the chaos that was happening over the past few seasons, a lot of that was due to the center back position. Let's be quite honest. Yes. And Miss Francisco Calvo, like anyone, still the second most interesting player in MLS next to Nuhu. But we were joking today about what would Luchi have thought if he had inherited a team with Calvo. But one of the things that Calvo was brave about to pass, stepping up, force defenders to come to him and then be able to play out. And Mensah has those qualities, but without the chaos. It's like you got that player, but you kind of gave up the part that was very Matias Almeida-like, and you got the part that was Luchi Gonzalez-like. And I think that that's a really interesting way of looking at that. Not only that, out that because when he's got a Jonas Mensah beside him, he can be a little bit more adventurous. He made that secondary assist to Christian Espinoza on the goal in the previous game. And I think that kind of opportunity is why they were so much targeting that kind of cross-field pass to Christian Espinoza in the first half. It was successful against Atlanta United. The difference was Vancouver had already seen the tape, right? They already knew, what the Quakes were going to try to do in those situations. So they have to disguise those situations a little bit better. They have to go away in order to come back. They can't just be so direct in the way that they played, and they fixed that, in the second half. They have to disguise it a little bit more, but I think it is an asset. You got two guys who can play balls like that. One of them can play with his feet and drive forward. The other can play a progressive pass. Did you see that pass from Mensah toward the end of the game? Like if that had been scored, that would have been the assist.
I don't know if that was
year.
intentional. That seemed accidental, Jamie.
Maybe it was accidental. That would have been the
whole
assist.
season.
We should have asked him that. We should have asked him that.
I was afraid to. I was afraid he had been like, "Yeah, I screwed up. That we're looking." good pass. But honestly, but that kind of progressive play to cut out lines and be able to find a player up high like that is really important.
I like this comment from Akash. He's saying it's a good replacement for Nathan. Nathan was chaotic, made some errant challenges. Mensah is that organizer type CB at the back. And you can tell how aware he is. I think the accountability that he just took in that post-match press conference, saying the way we started in the first half was playing into what Vancouver was trying to do. It was allowing us to lose ball in the middle, and it was allowing Vancouver to break down our throats. That is really, really, really strong sort of awareness and in-game awareness that I don't know if we've had in this back line for a while.
Akash, I know how long. It's been since Clarence Goodson. That's how long it's been.
That's what I was going to bring up earlier. Yeah. I mean, that's some of the things that you're seeing here in the play with, especially Rodriguez getting the opportunity to step forward and deliver some of these balls. You're seeing a combination of having that attack mentality, getting it, like stepping up, the things that we saw with players like Muma, for example, not afraid to make a challenge, but he has, a lot of the qualities that we're seeing from somebody like Clarence Goodson, and then having Jonathan Mensah back there. I mean, that just completely changes things for this.
The Quakes win 2-1, and here we are talking about center backs.
I know, isn't that incredible?
So how often does that happen on this show?
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess we can. If there's any other topics that you guys want to discuss in terms of the parts of the field,
do we want to bring up the Danielle? Is everybody satisfied with?
I think I kind of like leaving it here because, I
think we need more time.
We do exactly.
You know what? The thing about goalkeepers is that they're very erratic in long-term trends. And so when you take a goalkeeper and you put them into a completely different environment, it does take time to adjust. I'm actually surprised. I have to admit, I did not expect them to start Daniel. I really thought that JT would have started the first game, and JT would have probably played the first home game. And then you find the right way to work Daniel in. So I am kind of surprised they put him in. It may not have been the right move. It might have been right player, but not the right move to put him into the fire so quickly, ever having played in MLS, right?
What a risk.
And really kind of in and out of preseason because he had to go back to Brazil at some point in preseason. So I do think that if they're going to put him into the fire like this, you have to give him the time to adjust. Like if you yank him now and then you put JT in, then at what point do you bring Daniel back, right? And so, probably US Open Cup or Leagues Cup or something like that, right? So you have to be really, really careful right now with a player who's come in. So, an international transfer into a brand new league, in a lot of ways, was expecting a Portuguese, back line in front of him. And that's been changing a little bit now with Mensah coming in and Nathan being gone. So, there is a period of adjustment that they weren't counting on that is having to be made. And, I think we're seeing some of that right now.
But even if, and I'm sure that was part of the calculation. I mean, they're not going to go through all the effort to bring him here to be a backup. Right. I mean, I think when he was signed, it seemed pretty clear that, all right, the experiment's going to be to play Danielle and see where it goes. And if it works, fantastic. If it doesn't, you've got JT, a very capable MLS starter quality goalkeeper, ready to go in. And that's part of that philosophy that we've seen very successful Quakes teams, and we haven't seen many of them, but ones that have quality backups across the field, that can play an equal, almost an equal formation, equal starting a second 11. You want that. And while goalkeeper may not be the priority for your money spending, if you're trying to get an equal backup, the Quakes have them, and now they can feel pretty confident. Kind of goes back to when, John Bush and Joe Cannon were, kind of playing goalkeeper here. Yeah. Easily, 2 goalkeeper of the year in MLS, on the same roster. And you never knew, you weren't going to be on a wrong footing with either guy on the field.
Great comment here about the new kind of effect.
That's what I wanted to go. That's what I wanted to go with. Yeah, next. Yeah, exactly.
Maybe we should talk about it. I'd love to hear more from the fans about what they thought about the changes.
Absolutely. So I would like to hear see the thoughts in the comments. So if you were here at the game with us, make sure you leave a comment so we can highlight it up here on YouTube. I actually sat over in the stands during the match. And I'll tell you, it was really exciting in the beginning when the Ultras were chanting and we had all the blue smoke going. The players came onto the field. Crazy George was out there, as he always is, leading the Earthquakes chant. And one element that I really loved that got added tonight was the siren. I thought that was just outstanding, the Earthquake siren. And who did they have in charge of the siren tonight? Shea Salinas. So they honored him before the match. We got to see Shea out there, and he was running the siren. And after each goal, that thing gets cranked up, and it's loud, and it's just amazing. So for me, it's a great new addition, and it is like something original, right? If you ever went to the Candlestick Park games, watched the 49ers or the Giants back in the early days, they had the horn, right? They had the foghorn. I think the Quakes have got something here with the siren.
And it wasn't only Shea Salinas who was here. You also had the entire, a large portion of the MLS Cup 2003 team. They were celebrating the 20th anniversary of that MLS Cup. They were all down in the corner. I had a chance to catch up with Rodrigo Faria, who scored the winning goal in the legendary comeback victory over the Galaxy. One of the best matches in Major League Soccer history. He flew in from Brazil for this game. So it was nice to see the club honoring those players and bringing them together in a way that they hadn't done before. This was Rodrigo Faria's first time returning to San Jose since that 2003 season. Incredible. So it was good that they're finally commemorating that team. And look, I think the longer that the Earthquakes go without winning a title, the more important that team becomes, the more legendary that team becomes, the more they kind of loom in the collective conscious of this club. And so it was nice to see all of them here. Absent Landon Donovan, absent a few other players, but it was good to see that a lot of the Quakes legends in the building tonight.
And congratulations to both of you. The magazine that the Earthquakes have put out. A lot of people who went to the special event this week were able to get a copy of that. Robert Jonas showing it right here. Robert Jonas title article in here, and what you just talked about, the interview with Farias, part of the magazine as well. So congratulations to both of you for having features in that magazine, and it just shows, how respected Quakes Epicenter is in the Quakes community, that we would be a part of that. So I think that's cool.
Amazing.
They're not going to ask the analytics guy to write an analytics article. So.
Maybe next year. Maybe next year, Jamin.
3,000 words would have taken up the entire space. So
we were. I know you guys were off, kind of, pressing hands and passing out stickers at halftime.
That's right. We did. We met a few fans at halftime.
We were up in the press box commenting as they were bringing out the champions and, thinking about that comeback and laughing. It's like, wouldn't tonight be great if they got a comeback? And they did it.
Yeah.
On comeback night, if you will. They made those guys proud. I'm sure Agus is sitting on the sideline, ready for a challenge. Probably looked like he could still get out there.
He did. He certainly did.
But they could be proud of these Quakes in the same way that we were proud of those champions and getting to see all their faces again. So.
And this one was a really, really key win for this fan base and for the organization and for the community, because I think there was a lot of frustration after the loss against Atlanta last week, after how well they played, to have it all taken away in the last 8 minutes. It felt really awful because it felt like the same old. It felt like this is exactly what the Quakes have experienced for the last 10 years. I think to get a win tonight gave this fan base a little bit of hope. It was a good crowd tonight at PayPal Park. It was a good turnout. One of the best turnouts I've seen at PayPal Park in a few years. You were also debuting the new supporters stand, which I think was a big reason why fans came out. The supporters
over here area was packed.
So
the stands looked great.
To give them optimism, to give them hope that this season could be different, that this season could be a season that the Earthquakes make the playoffs, that they're pushing for silverware, that they're becoming a real competitor in Major League Soccer. To give them that hope on this first day is huge, because that'll incentivize the fans to come back for the next week and the next week after that, because it's a long MLS season. You don't want fans losing hope in the first 3 weeks, and I think that could have happened. I was worried that was going to happen after the way this team played in the first half. That's what makes this second half comeback so important for this team.
But that's very San Jose Earthquakes, isn't it? Particularly when you think about the 2012 team. How many times did they have a really sucky first half and then come back and win in the second half? So, a bit of what we consider to be the never say die part of the Earthquakes.
Well, they wore the right kit tonight. Fight till the end is the jock tag on the new uniform. They were wearing the wrong kits last week, apparently. just saying, kit nerd here. So
no, it was great. It was a wonderful experience. The team came through. I think people are going to be excited to come back out, and that's something that I kind of like about the Earthquakes fan base, is like people do come here to watch the team. Right? We went through those years at Spartan Stadium, at Buckshaw, and people still came out despite the fact that it wasn't necessarily the ideal location for a soccer match, a professional soccer match. And the folks are still coming out, and I think people have something to be excited about. I did have one other thing I wanted to bring up as we get towards the end of the show here, as we wrap things up. I don't know if you saw, considering that Troy Dyack was here tonight, he was the guy that normally wears the cowboy hat. He lives in Tracy, right? He's like our Central Valley representative of the club, and that's a big thing to me because you guys know I'm from Los Banos, so Central Valley representation is huge. Did you see the picture of Cade Kell coming up to the stadium today? Not only did he have the mustache,
it made it into the patron Slack.
Okay,
for
so
sure. So we definitely did see that.
Do you want to describe it for us, Jamin?
I mean, hey y'all.
Yeah. I love it.
Cowboy Cade is here.
Yeah, Cowboy Cade.
No mustache though. His mustache was gone.
I think, but he had the cowboy hat.
Was gone.
He had the white shirt.
But the mustache would have fit the cowboy.
It would have. It would have been Troy Dyack 2.0 for sure.
Yeah,
we promised last week that we'd bring a sartorial segment to this show every week. So thank you
you're
for
welcome.
following up on that promise. I was disappointed that the mustache wasn't gone.
Yeah, I started to grow mine out
enjoyed
again,
the
too.
mustache. Phil was
It
on
takes
the
me
mustache
forever,
train.
but it's I was
It's
there.
starting to come
Cade,
in. I can see it.
Yeah,
You're all alone
Cade,
now.
man. Thank you for
you're out alone by
affirming my
yourself.
masculinity. Yeah, but yeah. Anyway, I thought I'd bring that up.
If the Earthquakes win the MLS Cup this season, I'll bring back a mustache. That's a
yes,
promise
I would love to see that.
I'm willing to make. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You got yourself a deal, Phil.
Good. You saw it here live.
Hold
on
me
the
accountable
Aftershock.
to this, please.
All right. Well, I think it's about time to wrap things up, guys. Maybe we can go into our final thoughts segment. Robert, would you be willing to lead us into that?
Yeah. Having been to many home openers over the years, and knowing that the beginning of the season is always about optimism. It felt a lot more optimistic in the crowd tonight. I did a couple of rounds just walking around, said hello to folks who recognize me and I recognize them. And so kind of getting back that sort of that family of Quakes supporters that we know make the atmosphere at PayPal Park so special. That's going to be a big part of what's going to feed this team's success this season. We heard it from players, Luchi, and my conversation with him. That's a big part of that magazine article I wrote. He has so much, not expectation, but maybe that's a good word for it. He wants everyone to get more involved. He demands it within the organization. He demands it of his players, and he knows that if they do their job, that the fans are going to come and do what they need to do to kind of boost and lift this team. And tonight was a great example of it. We often laugh sometimes when they say sellout crowd. It was a sold out crowd tonight. I mean, this stadium, when it gets to that level, is very impressive. It's very loud, and we know players feed off of it. And that's exactly what Luchi wants to see brought back to this organization. So I was very happy to see that the fans played their role tonight as well.
Yeah, lots to be excited about for the fans. Jamin, your final thoughts?
I mean, I'm just really, I think, thankful for the community that we have. It's great to get a 2-1 win. When I talked with a lot of people around the club today and just said, how you doing? They're like, we need to win today. We need to win today. I just heard that over and over again. Every person that I talked to goes, we need to win. Everyone felt this one was so important to get off on the right foot, to win at home, and particularly, as you said, after what happened last week, when you deserve a win and you get a loss. And you don't even get a point out of that, right? And so, today everyone was fixated on getting a win. Whatever they found a way to get that win. I think it was important for the fans. I know that the fans we talked to, we enjoyed getting to meet. One of the things that we could kind of just hear in all the conversation was just how important it was to see this organization take another step forward. And so right now they got 3 points, and now they got to take another step, and they have to take another step. And so what's important is, we're going to be here with you every single week to go on this journey with you. And throughout this season, I'm really excited for it. I think tonight shows the promise of what this can be. And, I'm hoping that we'll get to see it. And if you like the format, you like all of us together, we're hoping to do it again for the Cali Classico, maybe for the LAFC game as well. So just let us know if you like having all of us together like this. But we're going to be bringing that coverage all season long, and I'm just so happy to get to meet many of you. And my heart's full from getting to do that.
Alex,
and the way you can make that happen is by subscribing to the Patreon. That's the way you can make that happen. That's what allowed Jamin to fly in from Seattle. I flew up for this game from Southern California, and that was possible because of the support from all our patrons. And we're really, really grateful
And got us
to
a
have met
preseason.
a bunch of them. That's why we're able to make the trip to Coachella Valley for preseason and hopefully more travel
And
this season.
wonderful content from your
videos
trip
are
to
great.
Coachella. So
Yeah.
if you haven't seen that yet, make sure you check that out. It's right here on the YouTube channel. And you can also find that on quakesepicenter.com.
If tonight's game made you optimistic and you want to know why the Earthquakes, could be successful this season and what's going to make them be successful, go check out the interviews that we did with Luchi Gonzalez, with Chris Leach. Those are both up on the YouTube right now. If you're looking for more post-game content as you're on your drive home or you've just gotten home from the game, go check out those interviews that
really
Jamin and I did. We were grateful to be able to.
We
do
just
those
set
interviews.
them up and they talked, and I thought it was really amazing.
Exactly. And look, as you're saying, Jamin, this was a huge win for this community. It feels now like they're building something, like they have a little bit of momentum. It feels like they have a trajectory, an upward trajectory. I think they were able to take away a lot of positives from the game against the Atlanta United last week. Even though they lost, their performance was really, really strong. And so to be able to get the win tonight, it validates that. It validates what the fans were seeing, what Luchi Gonzalez was seeing in that game against Atlanta United. And I think it gives a lot of optimism for this season. Even though the Quakes were playing poorly tonight, I think that's the thing that I took away the most from Luchi Gonzalez's post-match press conference. He was saying, look, in the first half, we played poorly. In the first half, we were giving away balls. He agreed with everything that I said, was that the Quakes were slow in transition. They were sloppy on the ball. They were second to all the loose balls. He agreed with all that. And yet they were still able to create chances going forward and be dangerous from the crosses, from Christian Espinosa, getting the ball into the box for Cade Cowell and Jeremy Abobasi. Neither team that the Earthquakes have played yet has been able to shut down Christian Espinosa. Atlanta United did it. And even though the Vancouver Whitecaps tried, they were still able to find space in for Christian Espinosa on that long ball. Nobody's been able to successfully shut him down yet. And that's what's made this attack dangerous, is that play out wide, getting the balls in the box. 2 out of their 3 goals this season have come from those crosses. You had against Atlanta United, Christian Espinosa getting the ball for Jeremy Abobasi. You had another cross tonight, Jameer Montero, a great ball in an incredible header for Jeremy Abobasi. That's 2 goals in 2 games for Jebo. Even in games where you don't think he's connecting very much, he's still dangerous. And, I think on the basis of these first 2 games could easily have another 17, 18, 19 goal season. So that's a reason to be optimistic.
Numbers guy, how many goals does that go out for a whole season?
He's on track for 34 goals.
34 goals, Quakes record
Golden
right
boot
there.
in the bag.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Well, as we wrap up the show,
The article will be there.
well, I'm
3,000
sure.
3,000
I'm
words
sure
about why he's gonna
you
hit.
heard it here first from Jamin. 34 goals for Jeremy Abobasi this season and the Golden Boot. I just wanted to say there's one thing that I left out: the new supporters terrace as well. I think the supporters section looks great. That's I was right above there. It was it just changed the feeling in the stadium. I mean, you could really hear the ultras well, the sound, the way it moved through, back up and across the stadium. I mean, it's just so much better than it was before. So I wanted to make sure I pointed that out as well.
And guys, I think that the comments are indicating that the stash is still there. Cade Cowell hasn't cut the stash. I'm not sure if we missed that one.
Okay.
So there's a little
Hard
bit
to
of
tell it from up in the press box, but people were saying it was gone, so I was just taking their word for it.
there's uncertainty about the stash. So that's something that we will have to
Maybe it
continue
was
to
a trim.
watch.
Maybe it's a trim
next
stash.
season.
Maybe
It's a trim stash.
Maybe it's tamed.
Yeah. We're good on the tactical coverage. We're good on the analytics side.
We need more stash coverage.
We need more stash coverage. We're not quite there yet. We need to improve our stash watching.
We'll have to work on that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, make sure you go to quakesepicenter.com, check out all of our content, like and subscribe, and turn on those notifications so that you can join us after each match throughout the season. And again, check out our Patreon. For just $2 a month, you can become a patron. If you're willing to pitch in $5 a month, you can get access to the Patreon Slack, where you can join in with all of the other Quakes fans who pay $5 a month to get access to that. And they are dedicated fans, just as I know many of you are. So make sure you check that out and give it a look. Visit quakesepicenter.com. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Quakes Epicenter. Like and subscribe. And we will see you next time. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.